Good morning.
Hey, ready to record? Just waiting on.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. What day is this?
Well, seems we have two waiting to be healed of insomnia. What about you?
I should have been asleep 3 hours ago.
Oh, great. Well, let's see if this episode on healing does the trick for the three of us then.
Yeah, let's get some healing done. Welcome to the Music Arcade.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Music Arcade. I'm Galen, the sound guy Firestone.
I'm Ramical.
And I'm Eddie, and I don't know the meaning of the word sleep.
Me neither.
Well, that's a problem because sleep is when you heal the most.
Yeah, don't I know
Well,
it?
that and the hospital, I guess, but you can...
Most of the time, they
heal
just put you to sleep in the hospital, so this still tracks.
I took a nap there once, and it was restful. Comparatively speaking, like compared to the night before. But let's not go too deep into our individual medical histories.
I think that's a fair idea.
Yeah.
Mine would
The
be
impetus
long.
for the episode was basically that this was an emergency quick pick because everybody seemed to be out of it.
Yeah,
And,
so I actually came up with the theme originally. It was when Rana had his... I think he was traveling and then had the PC issues. And so I instantly had the gag of the healers down from MMORPGs.
yeah.
Thing is, I got sick then.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Yeah, and so the theme kind of landed from there.
I remember that week. I don't remember the exact specifics of it, but I think we kept swapping between like 4 different topics because the cast list kept changing. Like, I think I was originally, it was just planned to be the 3 of us, and then the timing went wrong, so Rana had to travel, so then it was just the 2 of us, and then you had to drop, and I ended up, I think, planning an episode with Zero, but then Zero had to drop, and then I think we waited for Rana to come home or something. Like, it turned into a whole thing.
Yeah, the fact that we did manage to get some episodes out in the end is something I'm pretty proud of.
Honestly, same.
Yeah. Now, for the episode theme as a theme that we are treating right now, I found that it was difficult to have clear picks in mind because when I think of healing in video games, I don't really think of situations that linger enough that they deserve their own music. Times of break, times of relief, maybe, but healing, it's more about the moments. When I think of that, I think of either sound effect like the ring or the very short loops from like the Fairy Fountain from Zelda, the stuff uses in Fire Emblem for the GBA, the Continental Resurrection from Terranigma, stuff like that. That's a bit too short to really talk about as part of Music Arcade's standard fare. And so I feel like we all kinda had to take paths around the theme.
So,
Yeah, I actually had a chat with a friend on this theme to kind of help get the brain juices going to find some songs for the theme.
Yeah.
Because I talk about this a lot, that I enjoy games with a lot of player agency, and usually that means they are so open-ended that they can't really have themes for something so specific as healing because they can't predict when you will do that.
Yeah, and because in real life, healing is a whole process, while in games, it's more a moment.
now, I had a different take on this at first, and I ended up cutting this song because it was too obvious. But I was thinking, okay, healing is a little abstract, but healers, well, they're actual characters, so maybe find a character theme for a healer I like. And I landed on one, and I listened to it, and I'm like, this is the most obvious song in history. I can't add anything to the discussion with this. So...
Which one was that, out of curiosity?
That would have been from FF10, Xanarkand, because Yuna, and how it's associated with her. And I'm just like, what am I adding to the conversation with this song? Nothing.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking some slightly different approaches. I still considered briefly Breath of Fire 1 and finding something from Nina, the healer in that game, but then that goes into a whole Breath of Fire, like how Nina changed over the years from White Mage to Black Mage and then back to White Mage, and then I don't know what the heck she is. So
yeah, she has went through many a journey.
She has. And I just sort of kind of stopped and went, you know what? Let's take this from scratch. Still landed on some RPGs, though, which makes me happy. And one song which works and then doesn't work and then works again. And I'm happy to explain that when we get to it.
Wonderful. Then how about we start talking about our picks proper? Starting with another Final Fantasy track, not Xanarkand.
I was shocked to see this on the playlist.
From me. Yeah. That's not something that happens every day. So this has a bit of a story and then also a bit of an explanation as to why. We're talking about a specific cover of Kingdom of Burmecia. I don't know how to pronounce it. I haven't played the game.
Well, it didn't have voice acting, so your guess is as good as anyone's.
Yep.
Cool. This is by a YouTuber / artist in general who goes by TPR. I don't know if it means anything. I just know him as TPR. And this song came randomly in a recommendation on Spotify when I was still using Spotify. I've since moved to Deezer.
Mm-hmm.
For one of my more chill playlists, it has those recommendations of songs to add at the bottom, and this was one of them, and I liked it, so of course I added.
Yeah.
And, I had no idea it was a video game track because it just said Kingdom of Burmecia, and I had no idea what Burmecia was.
Yeah.
So I added to the
So,
playlist.
for instance, you still don't know that this is a variation of a main character's theme. Well, one of the party members' main theme.
No, I listened to the original, but I didn't know that context.
Aha.
That character can heal. I don't know why you would, because it's so easy to get her to 9999 damage, but she can heal.
Yeah.
She has Lancet. That works.
Yeah, the actual reason.
Yeah,
the actual reason I picked is more meta, let's say, and more about myself than about the song necessarily. It's more about what the song does to me specifically, let's say.
Go on.
I've talked in the previous episode about how I tend to lean more melancholic for art in general. So songs that some people think are melancholic to me are calming.
And this one literally has a melancholic arrange in the video title.
Yeah, pretty much. I believe I have mentioned in the past on the podcast that I am autistic. I have been officially diagnosed. But they usually say that when autistic people are dealing with being overstimmed, they either have a shutdown or a meltdown. I don't really have meltdowns, but I do have shutdowns where just my brain stops working and I need a mental reset. And songs like this work wonders for me. It literally heal me, you could say.
Interesting.
And yeah, so TPR, as far as I can see, is mainly a pianist. I saw a video where I think he was playing an acoustic guitar as well. But he mainly does piano covers of video game songs, especially JRPG ones from what I've seen on his YouTube channel. So yeah, this randomly came to me, and also the rainy sounds just makes it really good to relax to, and also really good to sleep to. It has been one of my main sleep aids alongside with actual medication.
I can see that.
So can I. And in fact, your description kind of makes talking about the context of the song utterly irrelevant, because we're not even talking about that. It doesn't matter where it plays if it's having this profound personal effect on you in particular. Like, who cares what the context of the song is at that point?
Although is kind of interesting in itself, because essentially the way I assumed the track was that in order to get healed back up, you have to get kicked down first. You need to be wounded and realize you're wounded to start healing.
Final Fantasy IX spoilers. Burmecia never recovers, so that didn't work as intended.
Yeah, especially since the original is even more haunting than this one.
Yeah, this was one of the plot threads that Final Fantasy IX forgot.
I have heard that Final Fantasy IX is much darker and more serious than the character designs would have you guess.
100%. There's a lot of destruction.
Yeah.
I would describe it as more bleak than the explicitly and intentionally dark Final Fantasy 16.
I would take your word for it.
Yeah, and so what's interesting for that I was bringing up before is that this is the home city of Freya, one of your party members, and so the city's theme is her character theme, but with an added melody line throughout that you hear before you first set foot in Burmecia. And as a result, the contrast with the more heroic version first is that you come here and it feels like a home drained of its valor. So, an interesting pick given the theme for sure, with this context, but that makes complete sense given how you're using it.
Yes.
As an aside, I like how we're inclusive and each of us is pronouncing the name Burmecia in a different way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because there's no voice acting, we kind of have to rely on that.
Yeah. It's like we're at 3 completely different parts of the earth or something.
Yeah, I admit I came into this piece admitting, of course, that it's beautiful. I really love the piano on this. Again, Eddie, you're not beating the allegations. We both sent you haunting piano tracks, and then here you come with a haunting piano track. But there's a lot to like here, but the context of it is literally a massacre. And yet the reason you stated for enjoying it and healing makes complete and perfect sense. So, like, there's nothing to tease about here. This is legit. No one ever said you have to be listening to the song for its intended purpose.
No, you're not listening to the song correctly.
As a metalhead, you're now sounding like a lot of metalheads I've heard.
Boy, howdy. Yes.
So that's not the way I want to sound. Well, not the way I want to sound like many other metalheads.
I need to tell the story
my growls
to heal myself a little bit here.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. We're between friends.
I was at a Nightwish show. This was not incredibly long ago. Within the last, I still lived in LA, so more than 4 years ago, but there was a black girl in the audience. And this is very uncommon for heavy metal of any kind.
Yeah.
And I literally just asked her how she was enjoying the show, and she seemed surprised. I think she thought I was going to Gatekeeper or something. And we just started talking about the band, and she was there with her boyfriend and a couple of friends, and they wanted to introduce her to it. And then after the show, I caught up with her, and I'm like, so did you like it? Did you enjoy it? And she seemed genuinely surprised that that a white dude from the metal community would actually care about how she enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
This sort of gatekeeping is deeply common in heavy metal. You're not listening to it correct. It's the wrong genre. And the exact opposite of this, I was at Halo.
Are you even a real fan?
Oh, God, that gets so much. Especially towards women. Like, you have dudes
of course.
You're not a real fan if you like this stuff. Name 3 songs. The name 3 songs meme is so fucking obnoxious. And I'm just
this is unmanageable levels of No True Scotsman.
Yeah, it's just stupid. So, Eddie bringing that up, I'm like, no, let people enjoy things. I hope that girl had a good time at the Nightwish show, and I hope she's at more metal shows now.
Hey, yeah.
Sorry, this turned into a bit of a rant, but I
Yeah, no, like
Oh, that's fair. It
I am
is.
of the opinion that I like it when people enjoy things I enjoy as well.
Right?
Apparently, this is not an opinion that is universal.
It is kind of wild that like heavy metal, a lot of metalheads tend to have this sort of opposition to classical music. That like classical music is stuck up and we are actual rebels or some crap, but they are equally gatekeepy.
Mm-hmm.
And relying a lot on these fundamentals.
Yeah. No, honestly, you hear conversations between classical music fans and conversations between metalheads, and a lot of them act the same way, but using different language.
Yeah.
The only difference is the metalheads are swearing more.
I mean, you say that, but Mozart did do a song that translates to English as "lick my ass," so not as much as you'd think.
Lich mein Arsch.
Fair point.
I love that song exists. It makes me so happy inside.
Oh yeah. Posting has no true error. It is a state of mind.
It is. It certainly is.
Anyway, now that future Galen has decided what to keep and what to trim, how about we transition to the next track?
So,
Future Galen's gotta have a fun day tomorrow.
I found myself at a loss after my loss of Xanarkand.
Yeah.
Do I go with another healer's theme, one less prominent? There are no actual healers. I mean, there is a healing, like, fountain in the Shin Megami Tensei games, but then I remembered there's a hospital as a major dungeon and one of the, like, main dungeon themes now throughout the franchise. This is a song that actually comes back. It's kind of one of the more iconic songs. And I remember in a recent episode, I'm not sure why this conversation came up, I was talking about how Shoji Meguro sounds a certain way now, but before he went to Persona and started doing the J-pop thing, he had a very different kind of vibe to him, and I kind of wanted to show that off as well. So I went to Shinjuku Hospital from Nocturne. Again, one of the big dungeons. It's a hospital. Ha 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 ha. Healing. It's a demon-filled nightmare. Good luck. But there's more to it than that.
Like, even though there are elements of the setting and the backdrop in the music as well, 20 seconds in, I checked, this sounds like a dungeon theme. Is this a dungeon theme? Sure enough, it was a dungeon theme.
It's sure a dungeon theme. But there's a lot going on story-wise here, too. The main bad guy at this point in time, a dude by the name of Hikawa, is trying to heal the world by blowing it up and restarting it from scratch.
Yeah.
This is a really
classic trying to save things by destroying them.
Yeah. This is a really kind of dark take on healing, but I still think it's valid.
I mean, every cure taken in excess becomes poison.
Sure enough. I don't know. I've been a big fan of the SMT games for a very long time, starting with Nocturne.
Yeah.
Hearing this song come back again in SMT4 put a weirdly big smile on my face. And for such a simple piano theme, I genuinely feel as though it has a lot to say.
I can definitely figure it sticking out. Like, I mentioned the backdrop being there, but to be more precise, what struck me was that the piano notes are high, a bit anguish-inducing in a way that feels very SMT, but they still have a gentle aspect to them. They're not harsh and that percussive when they enter, and that helps kind of draw the line between what the dungeon is originally for and what it's used as right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the piano almost reminded me a little bit of Akira Yamaoka's work. It's just, I don't think he would space the notes that much.
No.
That part kind of has a bit of his vibe.
Honestly, I can hear the influence, yeah.
I did come from this with from a weird angle where, coincidentally, just the other day I was rewatching actually, a video by the YouTube channel Dungeon Chill, covering the game Maken X, which is, I believe, Megami Tensei spin-off. It's from the the PS1 era, maybe the PS2. I think PS2 era. So I wasn't too surprised by Shoji Meguro sounding like this because he kind of has a similar style in that game. It's a bit more urban, let's say, in that game than here. But the mix of electronic sounds kind of sounds like his old school stuff. It sounded very familiar to me.
I have a lot of affection for Shoji Meguro's older work. Nocturne, Digital Devil Saga. I feel he kind of turned to the dark side when he went to Persona 3, but there were still elements of that sound in there with the Tartarus theme, with the few of the boss tracks.
It definitely feels like he's one of the composers that has the most clear division between eras.
He really does.
Which honestly makes his work in metaphor one of the most interesting one recently because of how different it is, and kind of shows that this is because it corresponds to what he's working on right now, but he can still change, evolve, vary things, and I hope he'll remember that and maybe take a bit of that in his work on the more popular Persona side games as well.
I'd also like to throw out there that when you said he wasn't a guitarist, I know this isn't the correct song to talk about that.
Yeah.
I feel bad because I do primarily know him for his guitar work, especially in Digital Devil Saga. So...
yeah, the fact that he started that concert we talked about last episode with like 4 bars before going backstage.
I'm a bit disappointed by that.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe the lack of a rehearsal reached to that point as well.
That's also
Maybe
possible.
There was some other plan. Who knows?
Who knows? I hope we get another concert with Shoji Meguro playing guitar again, because he is quite good.
Apparently there were some... he went to multiple events throughout Europe and certainly made the best out of his trip.
It's possible this one particular concert didn't quite work out for him, which is a shame for you, but, you know, best of luck to him. I do still have a lot of respect for him, obviously. Not every show is going to go great.
Yeah.
On the subject of
said,
Shin Megami Tensei dungeon themes, here's one that sounds like it really belongs on that list.
Yeah, and that makes sense when you consider that this is from an Atlus game that is a bit later in the era, 2008.
Yeah,
and the second credit from composer Atsushi Kitajoh, who is very much an in-house Atlus guy who worked out, who still works there to this day, including in Metaphor with Fantasio, in fact.
I'm familiar. Yeah, no, it's flat out on my notes as this is the SMT sound team minus Meguro. Konishi Tsuchiya, one of those guys, and Kitajoh is one of those guys.
Yep.
100%.
Very much so. And this was one of his early credits. Now, when I went with the healing theme, I wanted something that, like, first I had my reflection about how this is mostly about moments, so how do we draw it out? And then I remembered that there was, among other ideas, a series of games that focused on healing, which is the Trauma Center series. And so I gave it a listen, and first Trauma Center soundtrack, not a fan of the surgery theme, very much focused on its main loop and a bit too focused to land on something interesting. But New Blood, the sequel, gave us this, which feels really cool because it's got that surgery aesthetic going with some of the choice of instrument, of a relative softness in some of the more background elements, but the main drive is very dynamic. It's action. It's not take some time and rest. It's time to buckle down and save some lives. Let's go.
Yeah.
I straight up noted down that it has a bit of a medical show vibe. Like it's a drama where you're rushing around to get the guy healed, but it is in a hospital.
Yep.
So everything's a bit sterile.
It starts like that, and then it goes anime, including the gameplay. There are boss battles in this game.
Yeah, I think I remember watching it in a Games Done Quick event.
Yeah. No, turns out one of the recurring elements is a bioengineered supervirus named Guilt, which is an acronym.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. It's anime like that.
Yeah.
And so the series is super cool, and I really like how this track in particular manages to balance the tension of the operation with the more almost arcadey vibe, because at the end of the day, even though you're doing very atypical things for a video game, you are essentially doing a lot of diverse QuickTime events in order to get your scoring high up and not let your patient completely bleed out, of course.
Yeah, no, it works surprisingly well from the context you're telling me. I may need to check some gameplay of this game out because it sounds wild and weird, and obviously I'm a fan of the sound team. I literally just said I was.
Honestly, the speedrun have been mentioned. I highly recommend that. It sounds like a nice way to discover the diversity of it. Let's just say the movements of the surgery gameplay aren't only used for surgery.
If
Perfect.
this is the speedrun I remember from Games Done Quick, it was from a few years ago.
Yeah.
And they were fully dressed in medical gowns.
Oh yeah,
So
I think I saw that one.
If it is the same game, it's a fun time to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't
Okay.
have much more.
Let me ask a rhetorical question, Galen.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the scene of Majima trying to defuse a bomb in Yakuza Kiwami 2 and wondered what it would have been like if it was a QTE sequence in first person?
I mean, I haven't imagined that, but I can, and that sounds stress-inducing.
Excellent.
Got it.
Look at this game.
Transmission received.
Yeah. So, yeah, Trauma Center is such a weird little concept of a game, but it fits pretty perfectly in the episode, and I didn't want it to go without one of those tracks. And happily, that track is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it is. I'd like to point out that it kind of popped into my head that somewhere out there is an SMT spin-off game that's actually composed by the Yakuza team minus Hidenori Shoji, and this song kind of reminds me of that sequence because it's the SMT team minus Shoji Meguro, so
Yeah.
same Sega concept.
Yep. We are drawing a lot of bridges and getting interesting things in return.
Yeah.
Alright. Now then, how about we move on to some Rondo of Blood?
Specifically, the Dracula X Chronicles remake. So this will surprise no one. I enjoy a song by Michiru Yamane.
Really?
Yeah, who would have thought? The song title, depending on the release of the soundtrack, is translated differently because Konami. So you either know it as Daybreak or The Dawn, if you've heard this before. So this song is kind of a go-to for me when I think of more peaceful themes from Castlevania. And I think it really sells the idea that the area is healing from Dracula's presence. Like he's gone and and everything is healing back to normal. Back to
Right, because this is a credit stream, right?
Yes, it is
Okay.
the credits theme for specifically the remake. I don't know if it's an arrangement version of an original theme from Rondo of Blood or whether it was composed specifically for the remake, but it is, to be very specific, the remake's credits theme.
All right.
And yeah, the choir here to me really sells this idea. It really feels like the break of dawn and the general area just healing from the shadows that Dracula has put them under.
The start especially, because the start is very calm, very gentle, it's healing repose, but then it goes a bit back to chronicling intentional choice of word, the heroic deeds of that adventure that just unfolded. Gets a bit more dynamic, you know?
It does.
While keeping the main through line.
One of the interesting things about the song compositionally is I really like the use of horns in the harmony. Like, it's understated. Horns are usually way out in front, but I think it's just sort of one of those weird things that shouldn't work, but it does, and I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, the way horns are used subtly reminds me of a Magic the Gathering card that's named Elephant Ambush. And the illustration is just an elephant badly hiding behind one tree.
Was that from the funny card set? I remember there were a few of those.
Nope. That was from Odyssey.
Fair enough.
I'm surprised that's a Magic the Gathering card and not a Yu-Gi-Oh one.
I know Magic better than Yu-Gi-Oh!
Those are the same picture.
Fair enough, I don't know enough Magic.
I have tales, my friend.
I believe it.
But of course, that's not the only Castlevania track, not even the first one I think of when I think of Castlevania track with in regards to healing.
Yeah, but
because
this
there's
remix...
one where it's literally in the name.
Yeah, but this remix of it is extremely aggressive and not what you'd usually call for healing, right?
I wouldn't say that completely.
Really?
Yeah, because
I want to hear your take on it before I give mine, because that's interesting. This was a subversion that I'm going to turn into a double subversion, to quote TV tropes.
Then I will say that first, my notes say that this was probably the most obvious include of the episode because of the name.
Sure.
And the instruments it uses feel like the building materials for a lot of dark haunting tunes, but twisted to have something that's more positive, something almost purged of the darkness they were meant to convey. And like, even when it goes full on, like I wrote it, even when it Keygen Churches, it keeps kind of a bright undertone to it nonetheless.
So,
in a way, it's kind of the opposite of what we say about a cure in excess becomes a poison. This feels like something poisonous that's been purified.
That's a very interesting take. So, I'm going to be honest, my thoughts on this song are actually going to skew a lot closer to Eddie's about Burmecia. As opposed to actually talking about the song Sarabande of Healing or its specific composition in this case, though obviously it's no secret I'm a big fan of Keygen Church. I mentioned that a number of times. Thank you again, Eddie. I will always be grateful for that.
You and everyone else in this call.
Accurate. But the thing about this is it feels like it's healing in a meta sense. Castlevania's been at kind of a low point for a while now, other than some like mobile gacha spin-offs or patchy slot whatever,
which had surprisingly good soundtrack, which was more annoying than anything else,
right? And then suddenly Ponkel happens, and first they did with a tribute to Castlevania in the form of one of the greatest games to have ever graced this earth, and that is Vampire Survivors, which was a very tongue-in-cheek tribute to Castlevania.
Yeah.
And then
using
they
a lot of the assets in order to do something completely different, but that happened around the periphery of it because obviously Punko really likes his Castlevania.
Sure enough, and so does Vittorio, so does Keygen Church. So
yeah,
that was definitely a match made in heaven there. But then there was Ode to Castlevania, their great Konami crossover for Castlevania, which they tested out with a surprisingly incredible crossover with Contra.
Yeah, that was very much testing the waters before the big leap.
Sure enough, and I maintain hope that something similar is Emerald Diorama and Saga. We all know what we want Vampire Survivors to cross over with next.
Yeah.
But
although given the descriptions and the fact that this one was free, that's more of a personal passion project.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
But this was the thing that kind of brought Castlevania back into the gaming eye really strongly. Like, sure, they had the Netflix show, and that's widely regarded, but that wasn't leading to anything new. That was just a new monetization of the formula, right? New monetization of the property.
Yeah.
That wasn't really bringing in a new gaming audience. Meanwhile, here's Ode to Castlevania, and to a lesser extent Bloodstained, that are really kind of proving once again that, yeah, Castlevania is still a viable product.
Yeah. That Metroidvanias are a genre that went beyond Castlevania, but that this doesn't mean Castlevania doesn't have its enormous place in that space.
Absolutely.
And a unique spot that only it can fill.
And
as
now
much as I love Bloodstained.
Yeah. And now we're getting a new actual Castlevania game. In many ways, this song, which could very well have been the, like, grand finale of Castlevania, this is the end credits after all. This could have been, like, the final tribute, like, let's wave goodbye to this masterpiece.
Yeah.
I think...
Although... I think it's unfair to talk about that situation and that transition without at least mentioning the Castlevania DLC from Dead Cells.
True, but even that felt more like a crossover. Which had a very similar role,
and led to that team working on Castlevania Belmont's Curse.
Yes, and between, like, Dead Cells, Bloodstained, and now Ode to Castlevania, in many ways, that healed the franchise, and now we're actually getting new Castlevania again, and I'm super looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's as if Konami, like 10, 15 years ago, I don't exactly remember when, the timeline is blurry, that's called getting old, people. They shut down the door to making fun video games, then making games at all, then after a little bit of forays into gacha territory, they were like, so video games, are they still a thing? And after an understandable period of wariness, it seems like fan and ascended fans with their own indie game studios went the route of, okay, here is what we want. You made us love this kind of things. We know you can make this. Please make this.
Yeah, and now they are. They actually are.
Yeah, it's like leading with positive examples rather than threats and outcries work better even on such a lost cause as mid-2010s Konami.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible how there is actually a fair bit of healing behind the scenes here, even as you call this the most obvious pick. I actually didn't pick it for any of the obvious reasons. So I'm really glad.
Let's call it serendipity then.
I like that plan.
This song is what illustrates that the best. But how about we stay around Konami but move back in time? because that actually dovetails pretty nicely into my next track's Healing Vision and its angelic mix.
So, I need to just get this comment out of my system.
By all means.
Healing Vision DE-SIRE sounds like the title of a weeby porno visual novel.
Well, that's because DE-SIRE isn't part of the track's name. It's the nickname of composer Naoki Maeda for this track. Early Dance Dance Revolution had this thing where tracks had fake composer names that are all Naoki Maeda, using silly track-appropriate titles to make it sound like they had a lot of composers instead of the guy plus a couple of guests.
That's
weird.
Yeah.
All right, sure.
That won't even be the real point of this discussion.
No, but now that I've gotten the bonkers title out of the way,
yeah.
This sounds like a lost Final Fantasy XIV dungeon theme.
Oh yeah, I didn't draw that parallel at all, but I can hear it.
I had a very
especially
different
the
take.
intro.
Please, what's your take?
When I listened to this original version, the Healing Vision, not the Angelic mix.
Yeah.
My mind instantly went to those early to mid 2000s albums of new age music, sometimes remixed.
Yes.
And I mean this affectionately because my mom is full of those.
Right.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that part as well. Except then it goes into a more active part. And the reason for that is that I feel compositionally the track is kind of fighting against itself.
It kind of is.
And that's because for a track with this kind of new age ambience and this healing part of the title, it needs to convey it with some smooth entry sounds, some very rounded notes, some background electronic longer drawn out sound. But it's a track in a rhythm game. And rhythm games need a steady melody and very clear beats to match your dance/button moves too. And so it feels like it's really fighting between those two elements.
I do kind of wonder what the song would sound like if it wasn't for a rhythm game.
Yeah. That's absolutely something that I'd be very curious about, and I bet it would sound extremely different.
I'm inclined to agree with that.
I feel like it, ironically enough, or fittingly enough maybe, I think that could have worked in a Castlevania game.
I have a bit more trouble seeing that.
I'm with you on that one.
But interesting.
Yeah. Again, I latched onto FF14 Dungeon immediately. That's where my brain went.
If it were in an FF14 dungeon, I figure probably an Asian old facility, something like that. Because it's got a bit that Academia and Ida theme.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I was lucky looking into the track further to have tracked a blog post in 2002 where the composer covered some of the tracks from Fifth Mix and said that he composed this track mainly because of the frustration that arose during the development process for Dance Dance Revolution 5th Mix. One can only assume because Konami's got a Konami even back in those days.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
And given the rate of release of the Dance Dance Revolution mixes, that kind of checks out. And That's why I assume he said that this track represents not so much the healing process, but longing for some time to heal and seeing it be a bit out of reach, which completely escalates and blows out in the Angelic mix, which is mainly there because that's how I discovered the track first and then discovered the original.
AKA the hard mode dungeon.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it's there for, actually. They made an expanded re-release for arcades where this mix was added as a harder version. Which is kinda grim given the sounds added to this accelerated pace, faster frantic version of the track really make it sound like basically the original is long-time care for patients. This one, it's the emergency room and things are not going well.
So, from a strictly, just me listening standpoint, I like the original a lot better than the remix, personally speaking.
Yeah.
The remix has...
The remix is very anxiety-inducing.
It is, but it also physically hurts me.
Yeah.
There is this weird high-pitched synth throughout the remix that I honestly thought was a truck's reverse alarm going off outside my window until I hit pause. It was high-pitched and shrill enough that it was hurting my ears.
No, it's a heartbeat monitor. That's why I'm saying things are not going well. At the end, it flatlines.
Oh, goodness. I didn't... Oh, that is what that is. That's... Oh, dear.
I caught that it was a heartbeat monitor, and I was annoyed at it because...
Yeah.
Of course the heartbeat monitor isn't going to match the BPM of the song, because the song is way too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to go so off
BPM.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to go so far off the beat. It annoyed me that it was off the beat.
Yeah. And I guess it annoys me a bit less with practice because while you are actually playing the track, you have to focus on the parts of the melody where the arrows are, which kind of makes it so that your brain tones down the volume of what isn't on beat.
Mm-hmm.
Which includes this heart rate monitor, which cannot be on beat because to convey what it's meant to signify, it cannot stay at a steady pace.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely see how this could make for a fun experience for someone who's into DDR. But a cool song, this remix is not.
And for that matter, I can definitely understand now that I have the anecdote on the composition why making something like that would work as a way to let out some steam.
Sometimes you need catharsis.
Yeah.
It is still a form of healing, after all. Why do you think I play Dynasty Warriors games?
And that's it for this track. How about we move out of the Konami zone and into some Supergiant territory?
Yeah, you call my track the most obvious healing pick on here. I disagree with that assessment, and this song is why. My notes consist of one word. Duh.
Yeah,
my notes are a bit longer, but I'll let the track picker first.
Yeah, this was one of the first few that came to my mind. I'm sort of on the camp where I prefer this over Good Riddance, which is a minority of the Hades fans. But In the Blood really did have... It got a strong reaction from me. To this day, is still one of my favorites from this game.
Very understandably.
And it's a really good representation of a family healing collectively, even in the lyrics.
Yeah, my notes start with, it's not easy to mend relationships, probably harder than mending flesh and bone.
Accurate.
So while the tone is slower, gentler, especially at the start, the drums still make it feel like it's a struggle. That every step of the way, it's not just something that falls off your lap, but that's aggressively pursued.
I'd say, like, even in the melody itself, it is slower, but it's very bass heavy, which to me kind of invoke the it invokes the visuals of what's happening, which is Persephone going back to the underworld. And that is a bit of a struggle going back to performer life. And of course, the entire familial trauma of the House of Hades slowly healing itself.
Is it a bit grim, given the context, that I figure if you take the lyrics out, this song would almost feel more appropriate for Sisyphus?
It's not. I think it is accurately reflecting the monumental task of healing that much dysfunction.
Yeah, and the fact that this isn't going to happen in one go.
No. There's a reason we call things that seem impossible to overcome Sisyphean?
Sisyphean.
Yeah, something like that. Hard to pronounce. Anyway. Yeah, there's, like... No, I understand that completely, and the fact that Sisyphus is himself in the game kind of itself foreshadows that exact point.
Absolutely. He's there because this game is so good at making the die and retry nature of a roguelite into a theme with very real value and something to say about that, about persistence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately, in a greater analysis of Hades, that's the great victory of the game, where it's not a roguelite just to be a roguelite. It's a roguelite because that is central to its message.
Absolutely. It wouldn't work as a straightforward dungeon adventure.
No.
And this song works really, really well as a combination of all you went through the game.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's technically, like, I don't want to say the halfway point, but there's still a lot more story to go after this if you choose to pursue it. It's a little less tense, but it's still very much there.
Yeah, I think it's like it's officially the ending, but there's a second ending that's like I think you could say this plays at like the 2/3 point of the game if you are going for the final true quote unquote ending.
Yeah, I never got there, but I believe I read it was like a dinner party or something.
And I haven't looked into the details because maybe one day I'll come back to Hades 1 and go for the full-fledged ending.
I did actually go for the full ending, and I mic again. And I did go for the actual full ending, and I'll keep spoilers away from you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All I'll say is that for me personally, this ending with Persephone was much more impactful than the final true ending, which is why the song is here.
Yeah, that checks out.
No, this is the emotional culmination of the game. I think that's a very worthwhile thing.
Yeah, and a very solid include. Honestly, the final three feel like a very good selection of healing more on the musical composition point of view, with this as the message. And if we move on to the next track, the Elden Ring one, it has very much a growth and evolution that works really well for the theme.
Which is hilarious because I picked it for almost the exact opposite reason. This is a boss theme.
Yeah.
And what's a super annoying boss? One that can teleport. What's even more annoying? A boss that can heal itself. Regal Ancestor Spirit, aka Moose Senior, can do both.
Oh.
Fun times.
So,
which makes it very funny, given what I've noted, without having a clear context. I assumed it was a boss fight, but I deliberately didn't make sure, because I feel like the track conveys a lot by itself, like most Elden Ring tracks, because these compositions are something else.
Absolutely. The ancestor spirits are... I picked this because it's literally a boss that can heal itself, which, in a Souls-like, if a solid percent of its move kit is to teleport away and then heal, you're going to be listening to this song a lot as you run it down. I have seen Moose Senior... Sorry, I keep wanting to call it Moose Senior and Moose Junior. The Regal Ancestor Spirit. I have seen this guy ruin bingo runs. I have seen this guy ruin randomizer speed runs. This thing is evil. From a gameplay perspective.
I am currently having trauma flashbacks from the Tiamat boss fight in Stranger of Paradise.
Yeah. In the game, this boss is more of a force of nature. Fighting it usually feels like... I don't know why you would, except for the remembrance. It's literally just there to be a loot reward and to kind of make you feel bad that you're doing it, because there's no real valid reason to do so. No quest takes you to them. No storyline cares, and whether or not you beat them in a fight is utterly irrelevant to the rest of the game. They are just there to be loot rewards. And this is the one that kind of makes you feel bad for going after it.
Yeah, it's in the noble tradition of fights ever since Priscilla the Half-Breed.
Pretty much, although Priscilla was a little more aggressive.
She had her own dungeon and everything.
Yeah. So, I literally, this was me taking this as literally as possible. I picked this because the boss heals itself, and it's hilarious to watch speedrunners just lose their minds over how long Moose is taking.
Mm-hmm.
I know a French runner by the name of Forza runs something called the Deathless Randomizer League.
Yeah.
And I remember watching a few of my usual Bingus crew playing in this league, and they would just see Moose Senior and just go the other direction, and they're just like, I am not dealing with this guy right now. This guy will take forever.
Now, for what I wrote down regarding the tone without having that Bingus context, it's essentially in two halves, I imagine, to cover the two phases of the boss fight.
Essentially, yes.
With the first, how there's kind of a through line, but other instruments keep showing up and moving away and showing up and moving away with a lot of panning. It feels like you're being watched over by ghosts.
That is fairly literal.
Which is a bit uncomfortable, weird, but when it goes silent a couple of times halfway through, it feels way more worrying than when there were the sounds that constitutes the rest of the song.
Yeah, I did write down in my notes that I was wondering why the different pieces of music kept coming in and then out. And in the context of the boss teleporting, I went, okay, that explains it.
That makes perfect sense. And then the phase 2 changes it completely, and it's all blossomy purples, and it's full-on rebirth or resurgence. There's a growing fame. There's a gentleness that keeps almost propping up the louder sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that part feels the healingest of this episode, tonally, to me at least.
Yeah, Souls-like boss themes usually sound a bit more dreadful to me.
Yes.
This one sounds very bright, especially in the second half, which is very, very unique. I did catch that it was probably a boss theme as I was listening. I didn't watch any gameplay or anything, but it did feel like a boss theme, with two phases, like Rana said. But it is much brighter than usual.
Yeah.
It's a very kind of unique piece of Souls lore, for lack of a better term. It's very unusual in its presentation and in what you're fighting.
Yeah. And I imagine in the story, depending on what ending you're going towards, you might very much be in the mindset that even if this is a kindly part of this world, you're burning it all anyway, so might as well get the loot.
I think there's only one end. Oh no, there's two endings where you're actively malicious.
Yes.
With that said, there's only one other boss in the entire game that does self-heal, and that boss does it by stabbing you, so don't get hit.
Yeah, that's a bit more like self-healing and HP draining are emotionally two very different processes.
Agreed, which is why I went with this over Melania.
Yeah.
Although, now that I think about it, Melania, a lot of her whole story happens after you beat her as a boss, so healing her is actually possible, even though she doesn't fully come back by the end of the game, so...
Yeah, and she took a lot of a very big sickness right there, so...
She did, but the whole point of the post-fight everything is actually to fix that. And kind of... Anyway, that would have been valid had I gone through the story. I went with the more direct route, but it had the secondary knock-on effect of, like you said, sounding like a healing song, despite it being one of the most annoying bosses of the game. And that... If I'm watching a PB run, I hate seeing this guy. But if I'm watching a run where everything's going wrong, I love seeing this guy. Because Schadenfreude is also cathartic and also can be healing.
Absolutely.
That is very fair.
So, question. What the heck is a Terra Nil?
Terra Nil is what they call a reverse city builder. So picture this. You start, top-down view, with a completely devastated, devoid of life, grey polluted landmass. And you can build little buildings that have effects like burning the ground, or digging trenches, or other industrial process that eventually allow you to do things like purifying or restoring the flow of water, which then allow the land to recover from its initial devastated state bit by bit, and it then moves on to further buildings where you transform some of the areas so they regrow as forests, or make sure certain conditions are met so that animals return. And the whole game is about healing the land to the point where the final step of every map is that you have to arrange and kind of reverse puzzle game your construction route so that every single building you've placed is packed, shipped to an airship, and left behind so that you leave nothing but the restored land in place.
Huh.
I remember playing a demo of this. They call it a reverse city builder because, as opposed to a city builder, your final goal is to leave things less urban rather than more urban. But it plays more like a puzzle game.
Yeah. But you are both making the puzzle and solving the puzzle afterwards. So if it is complicated, there are a lot of moments of, well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions biting me in the butt.
Well, this sounds both very interesting and also very frustrating.
I found it pretty intuitive. Like, it's more complicated in a lot of ways to explain than it is to play over the course of a couple hours that a level takes.
Okay.
And very satisfying.
I mostly just wasn't looking for a puzzle game, so I stopped playing and didn't play it again.
I finished it, although they have released more content since I finished that, so maybe I should go back to it. One of the more notable part musically is how the music evolves over the course of the different steps, where it starts very unnoticeable and very green, And this is a relatively early stage where you start to have your first blossoms and blades of grass and grasslands terrain in the very first level. And having the instrumentation get a bit brighter, even though it's very ambient, way more than I usually like. It's not the kind of song I actively listen, but when it accompanies the action, the emotion, the transformation of the land on the way to get even more vivid, even more diverse, it's very satisfying to have this movement and to have it be consequences of what you've placed and what you've done.
Yeah,
it fits the vibes of the game to
it does.
T.
The way you described it, I did catch somber energy from this particular song. So you're saying it's in the early stages. I do hear that.
Yeah. You'd first hear that at the stage where half of the terrain is still completely devastated and you need to get to it to get your cleaner percentages and unlock the rest of the buildings and continue the process towards diversification and the like.
It seems...
But again, it's kind of the same reasoning as why I picked Trauma Center, because it's something where the healing is very active, very player-driven, and feels nice.
It really nails that feeling of like you're starting to heal the land.
Yeah.
It's like seeing fitting to the title. It's like seeing a flower blossom for the first time after war ravaged the land, or
Exactly.
something.
Or at the very least, after a harsh winter, having the first sign of spring.
Yeah. I did actually, as a tangent, I went on a bit of a rabbit hole looking into the composer.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's also very interesting. So he goes by Maeda on pretty much every platform, but the song credits, I'm gonna butcher this name. He's French, so sorry in advance, Rana.
Or you can just paste the name and I can say it properly.
Okay, let me paste it on Discord.
There we go.
Here's the name.
Romain Vert.
That's the credited composer in the song credits. I assume it's the same person as the actual account Maeda, because it was uploaded to his account.
Makes sense.
And something very interesting about this guy is he has made some of his music available entirely for free on the Free Music Archive. And he also has some additional stuff on Bandcamp that you can buy for just $1, and it's under a Creative Commons license. So on a meta level, we're in an age, sadly, of AI, and it's really cool to see real people, real composers doing this stuff and helping other artists with their music.
Yeah.
It is healing in the sense of healing the arts, let's say.
I mean, it's funny because this is kind of a case where the solution came before the problem, but that's also the reason why we place an emphasis on crediting as properly as we can the tracks and the composer, because the music we are talking about is created by teams and people, and AI self-produced, self-generated tracks are kind of the opposite of that, of reminding yourself at every turn that people compose that and create what we've enjoyed for many, many years. And a way to kind of heal this mindset, to tie it back in a corny way to the theme of the episode, is to see all of those amazing composers throughout decades and decades and see their creativity, both big and small, with appreciation and maybe a bit of reverence instead of with envy, with I should do that if only I had the tools, and by the tools I mean the plagiarism machine. I really want the fame and success of creation, but I don't want more than 5 minutes doing it.
Laziness. It's seeing art as a product and only a product, and not finding its inherent value.
When it's a process and it's long, complicated, messy, it's not going to fit everyone. It's going to have highs and lows. It's going to have with completely transformative period where the composer from 20 years ago doesn't sound like the current one at all. And there's a lot of beautiful things to find in that mess.
There sure are. And that kind of brings me to, we talk about her a lot, but the fact that Yoko Shimomura has managed to stay excellent and relevant for now 30 years of composing video games, no AI could accomplish anything even close to something like that.
Yeah, because AI doesn't accomplish anything, in fact.
Yeah.
This whole episode, we have some of I joke behind the scenes about the music arcade pantheon, and we have some of those names today. We have from the get-go a song that was originally composed by Nobuo Uematsu.
Mm-hmm.
We have Michiru Yamane. Keygen Church doesn't really do video games all that much, but still an artist that we all love here.
Yep. Shoji Meguro is on that list between Persona and Shin Megami Tensei and spin-offs. I would argue that.
Hades straight up has two of our big names with Darren Korb on the composing side and Austin Wintory on the orchestration side.
Yep.
So
but
it goes to show where you can go, where you can get with.
Yeah, but I think
process.
The more important part to our point isn't that kind of legend status. It's the humble starting point. It's the indie that's on its second album and suddenly it pops up to become a big hit. It's the surprise. It's the new discoveries. It's the hidden gems. These are a lot of different kinds of composer, from the classically trained to the people that learned on the fly. And that is something on some level that anyone can accomplish. Not for fame, not for recognition, but even just to express something of yourself. Even if it's a frustration or something more positive.
We can even just, as I was just talking, mention the composer of the final track, this Maeda. He's not new. He didn't start composing for Terra New. He was composing before that. And like I said, he has music that he just made and put it out for free.
Yeah.
Thank you to...
Honestly, I picked at some of how the sausage is made and the desire to try to play around with music programs and to compose a little something every now and then. It's there, it's underlined, and I hope one of those days I'll act on it. Not with any aspirations of landing myself a big one and standing on the shoulders of giants, but because it sounds fun. And finding fun in creation or in just taking time for yourself, honestly, is a lot of how one heals themselves mentally from, ways vaguely at the whole world around us.
Nervous laughter. Yeah, the creative process, sometimes it can be painful, I think it's fair to say, but sometimes it is also a way of healing, and sometimes it's both. You are healing through that pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will even add, for a personal and topical experience, that sometimes you kind of have to drag yourself or be dragged into letting yourself have a good times. And I'm glad that after 107 episodes now, I went past the part where I kind of have sometimes to force myself to, come here, record, talk about things that I enjoy, and have a good time with my friends.
Yeah, I think we've all been through some measure of that phase.
Brains are weird.
Brains are very weird.
We straight up made fun of my mic anxiety on one episode because I do still have mic anxiety to this day. I am way too self-conscious for my own.
And then you show up and you deliver. And
you do.
Communicating on that and recognizing that is not an easy task, but I think one that's worth it.
All right, I think we faffed around enough here a little bit. Why don't we go ahead and move on to what looks like a very short Music Arcade now playing.
Yeah, it turns out we had a shorter window between recording last episode and the current one, which means I only have one new game in my now playing selection, which is the 1.0 version of Fields of Mysteria that released.
Okay.
It's so Harvest Moon, but a little bit of an anime code on it that it almost hurts sometimes, but it's very competent at being another Harvest Moon Stardew Valley thing.
Cool.
It doesn't try to reinvent the wheel, but I'll take a well-executed new foray into a new city, new systems, and there's starting your new fields and getting your first coop and your first chickens is just not going to get old at any point. Plus, it's nice to have something that's a new experience, yet something that's very familiar in how it works, and you're not surprised when, the mine opens on the 5th days, and every 5 floors you have an elevator that is used as a checkpoint that you can return to, and every 20 level the biome changes and you have a big treasure, and sometimes it's a bit too close to Stardew Valley, but it's comfy.
Yeah, I think that the coincidence is funny here because I don't think I had ever heard of this game before. Suddenly today 2 different people talk about it for me. Because a friend of mine also said that he grabbed Fields of Mystery the other day since he heard that it's basically, quote, Stardew Valley but with a lot of quality of life improvements, end quote.
Yeah.
Suddenly 2 people are talking up this game today, and I never heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard someone talking about it. I couldn't tell you who. Might have been Rana.
Quite possible. It was in early access for quite a while, and now it's a 1.0 version. And
yay!
So I'm enjoying that. We like it when a game fully releases, and you can just wring out the fun out of it in a proper, nicely packaged kind of deal. And the music is nothing that really leave a strong mark so far. Enjoyable. It does the job. I don't mute it or anything. It's nice as an accompaniment of the action while there's something else on the other screen.
I do appreciate that the official YouTube channel actually writes the name of the composer on the video itself.
Yes.
Yep. Proper credit, folks.
Love it.
But that's it for me for my no playings. Anything on your end?
So not really. Still playing Arknights, nothing to report on there. Still playing FF14, nothing to report on there.
Yep.
And
I managed to get a couple of games of Mecha Chameleon going there. And it's fun. It's cool. The music is grating.
Yeah.
Do. Heard repeatedly on a short loop.
Yeah, just mute it. Just mute the music. Sometimes that's okay.
Yes.
I did play briefly this game called Void Stranger. It was one of my game picks. I didn't like it. I played it for about an hour before I'm like, nope. Soundtrack was okay. I didn't have anything against it. It was fine. There was a separate soundtrack released on Steam. I did some reading on the game after the fact. This game is not my jam. So, yeah, that's about it for me. I was planning on starting a new game this week, but I'm flying out in a few days and haven't had the chance to do that. And yeah, that's my tiny list.
Yeah, I haven't been playing that much either, to be honest. Again, like Rana said, this was a quick turnaround between episodes, so
Yeah.
I'm mostly still on Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. Been, as always, having fun being a pirate. But I did also try a couple indie games. I got Sir, We Have an Arc Problem, which is an
I've wanted to
incremental
try
tower
that.
defense. It's kind of fun. It's fairly simple, but it's fun. I recommend muting the music. It's
bad.
It's I don't know if I would necessarily say the music is awful. It's just that it's only one song and it gets in your brain.
Oh.
It's insidious and I've learned to hate it. I don't even know what its quality in a vacuum is anymore.
It stopped having meaning long ago.
Pretty much, I just mute the music now, and that's it. But
Okay.
as a game, it's a fun little thing that I've been playing like during a lunch break or whatever when I don't have time for a longer session.
Cool.
And another game that I've been playing in similar situations is I think you pronounce it Dupery. It's subtitled A Game of Solo Deduction. It hasn't been released yet. Hi, Mike. It hasn't been fully released yet. It just has a demo out, but they are updating the demo, which is very interesting.
Okay.
The full game doesn't have a release date yet. But the game itself, it's basically a logic deduction puzzle, but it uses like the game Werewolf or Mafia as a basis. So it's as if the characters are players of a game of Mafia, and you are hearing what they have to say and deducing who's lying. That's basically it.
So it's single-player Town of Salem.
Yeah,
pretty much. And
except you are actually listening, and listening to the others actually helps.
Yeah, pretty much.
One presumes.
Shout out to Z Royal Viking. Anyway, please continue.
Funny you mention a YouTuber because it's being published by Yogscast Games.
Oh, hell yeah.
That checks out.
Okay, so that means there's a good chance it'll be in the Jingle Jam bundle, so I may very well end up owning that by the end of this year.
Neat.
Yeah, on Steam it doesn't have a release date yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does come out at the end of the year. It feels very good Lord. It feels very close to finished. And they keep making updates that apply to the demo, so it's a fun time. And the game goes for this noir aesthetic, so the music also goes for that. I enjoy that vibe, so I am enjoying the music. But it's not officially out, so the music isn't officially out either, at least as far as I can tell. But it's a fun time. If you're into logic puzzles, it's a cool time.
And
that's it for me.
I got one last comment about YouTubers real quick, because this came up fairly recently, and I want to acknowledge this. So I was watching Adef. Adef, after his big Balatro run, he's also part of the Bingus crew. Like, he's a pretty well-known entertainer and YouTuber around my watch habits.
Yeah.
And in a recent VOD, somehow he goes on a tangent about how, for some inexplicable reason, Mary-Kate and Ashley Crush Course has this, like, ridiculously good soundtrack. And I kind of want to shout that out. What the hell happened here? I love it, but what the hell happened here?
Always love a thing like that.
Yeah. Cringe shovelware. Goated soundtrack. Cool.
Yeah. And like I've said in response, sometimes it's tracks that they license, and I had the example of our Barbie Beauty Boutique one.
Yeah.
That was a very cool French house piece.
Awesome.
I guess sometimes the composer just goes, I have nothing to lose here.
Yeah.
Time to let loose.
Yeah. And sometimes it creates some real interesting bangers. So I wanted to shout out that game. I can't recommend anyone go play it unless you're really into what the industry thought games for girls were back in the early 2000s.
Or you like to have fun in an ironic kind of way.
Sure. This feels like a definite
Sure.
contender for like a silly games block. That
Yeah.
said, damn, does this soundtrack go way too hard, and it's great.
Love it.
And that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, you can find the playlist of the songs you talked about in this episode in the description below. We are on Blue Sky. Come say hello. Also, to our regular contributors, if you see a theme on the Discord and want to actually give us a song to discuss in absentia, that is a totally valid thing to do, and please do so.
That adds more fuel to the fire, and sometimes we might even see a song and decide, hey, what's a theme where this would fit? And we could build an episode around. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we will see you all next episode. Have a good one, everybody.
See ya, take care of yourselves.
See you next time.